Okay, our topic today is the 2010 CQ Worldwide DX Contest, which kicks off next weekend. Worldwide DX Contest Director Bob Cox, K3EST, and committee member Doug Zweibel, KR2Q, are with us today to give us the latest on the contest and to take your questions. Unfortunately, John, K1AR, had some other things come up and he's unable to join us today. So with that, let's jump right into things. Bob, Doug, floor is yours. Go ahead, guys.
Thanks, Ken, and welcome to everyone, and thank you for taking time to join us in updating the CQWW contest. We hope to make this, as we have in the past, an annual affair where we present the latest information coming from CQWW. We want to thank also the PBRC for hosting this webinar series, which has proved invaluable on many subjects. And as Ken mentioned, please pass the information along to all who are not in attendance, that they can see it on the archive site at the PBRC site. First of all, I'd like to mention give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to first of all talk about general information concerning the CQWW, and then we'll go into the assisted and multi-single categories, followed by some insight into how the CQWW contest committee works, and finally what's the holding in store for CQWW contest in the future, and some interesting tools which you will find very helpful in analyzing the contest. So let's begin with presenting a picture of, I guess, what we used to look like. This is a picture of myself and Doug, KR2Q, and this is what we look like today, more or less. So you have some idea what the presenter's appearance is. So what is the CQWW all about? Well, we've mentioned this many times in the write-up in the magazine, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate what it's all about. It's about working new countries and prefixes and having fun. It's about competition on a personal, club, and country, continent, and world level, a fair competition on those levels. It's about you educating yourself about your station, propagation, and supporting software. Contesting brings all those features together and allows you to become more intelligent about your use of your radio. But most of all, the contest is about fun, and that's what we want to emphasize to you. Here's a picture of the logs received over the years in the CQWW contest, and you can see this is a rather busy chart. And you can see that the bottom line there, I sort of emphasized each decade in red, so you can see that. But this next chart will probably, this next graph will probably illustrate it more clearly to you that the contest is continuously increased in the number of entrants, and probably can attribute, although it's not clear from the slope of the graph, that electronics made a big difference, but it certainly has increased the number of people who can easily submit logs and not be costly to them to submit a log to us. So you can see in 2009 we had around 12,000 plus logs received of both modes in the CQWW as compared to the first contest, which you can see is 1948. There's been this gradual increase. Sunspot seems to have played a little role, but not much, especially in this last Sunspot cycle, where it's steadily gone up in the number of logs received. Last year, we handed out over 2,700 certificates, which were mailed to the winners. You should have received your certificate by now for the 2009 contest. If not, and you were due one, please let us know, and we will take care of that. We've mailed out 133 trophies last year. We will mail out. We haven't mailed them out yet for the 2009 contest. And we want to thank personally Barry, W5GN, for his efforts in keeping the program up to date, the certificate program up to date. And this is a lot of work, by the way, as you can imagine. Getting the addresses, getting the stuff in the envelopes, making sure everything matches, etc. And thank John, K1AR, for making the trophy program work. And he has a helper now, N9RV, Pat, who is helping him also with that program. If you're interested in sponsoring or donating a trophy to the CQWW, please contact John directly at K1AR at cqww.com. In addition to the trophies and certificates you can try to win, there's a whole slew of records that you can go after on a personal level. These records represent historical data since 1948 and are for every country and every category. So if you go to the cqww.com webpage and go to the top where it says records on the top bar and hit the top records tab, you will see a whole mess of records revealed to you, which you can look over and see whether you can try to beat one. You'll be surprised, and you might find one that you can actually challenge. For the 2010 contest, we want to publicize as much as possible the fact that we're expanding the assisted category award program. On January 18th, we sent an update to the CQ contest reflector, which indicated that we will do all we can to make sure that single operator and single operator assisted categories remain fairly judged and keep them as separate as long as we can, as long as we possibly can. The new assisted awards involve a real expansion of the program. We will now list in the results all assisted low power, all assisted QRP entries in the results with a special symbol to the left of the call sign, and they're available for all awards also. There'll also be a band-by-band breakdown for all band-assisted world, Europe, and USA, as there is already for the non-assisted and other categories. And finally, we want to increase the number of plaques available for assisted entrants. We want to increase them to include Europe, all band, and all the world single band possible categories. This greatly expands the assisted category awards program, and we feel that it's necessary to reward and give something for the persons who are interested in using assisted category to go into and try to win something and submit a log which is really assisted and non-assisted. We want to emphasize most of all that we want you to really claim the category you're in. So if you're assisted, that's fine. Just enter that category. If you're non-assisted, that's fine. Just enter that category. It's imperative that you do this so that it's fair for everybody in your category to realize that everybody's on an equal footing. Finally, we hope this new awards program will encourage assisted entrants to participate and try to win an award. And if you could help us by spreading this information as much as possible to your clubs and to anywhere else you can, will be greatly appreciated. Next, I would like to call upon Doug, who's worked extensively over the years with the assisted and multi-single category, to comment on these two categories. So, Doug, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Bob. Okay, so on the next slide that we're looking at, titled Assisted, I'm just making sure my audio is going through. Our experience over the years has been, what seems clear to us in English, as native English speakers, easily misunderstood by non-English speaking entrants. So following, we're going to try to explain or give it what you should claim to be in the assisted category. Okay, so what is assisted? So if you enter the single operator unassisted category, you cannot or must not receive any help which could impact your score in any way from another person or any QSO spotting or reporting network. Again, going along with what Bob mentioned about increased recognition, we do warmly welcome entrants' use of any type of spotting, QSO spotting. If you do, just remember to submit your log into the assisted category. We don't have a whole lot of requirements to have fun. Log the call correctly, log the zone correctly, and when you submit your log, claim the correct category and obey the rule limitations for your category. Pretty easy to do. All right, multi-single. I'm going to go through some clarification and elaboration on multi-single. I do want to, it's not in the PowerPoint, but when I first was asked to join the CQ contest committee, I was given multi-single Europe way back when, and I got, back then it was all paper, and I got a box of logs from Bob and it said most Europe. I remember calling Bob up on the phone, being brand new at the committee stuff, and saying, why didn't I get all the logs? How come only most? Of course, back then, most was multi-op single transmitter. Okay, the multi-single category is extremely popular. It's always been popular. I think a lot of people don't recognize how many multi-single logs actually come in. You can make sure that your entry is free of any problems by remembering to declare for every single QSO in your log which transmitter or transceiver or station is making the QSO. And you have two options, the run or the multiplier station, which is how multi-single is defined. Using the contest logging software, you should designate each rig, each station, each transmitter prior to the start of the contest. If you need help, you can begin by contacting the software author, or you can always send an email to questions@cqww.com, and we'll try to help you out. Okay, so from the rules, what does the sentence mean? If electronic logging is used, Cabrillo, and we hope everybody's doing that, and most people are, for each QSO, the run transmitter or multiplier transmitter must be indicated in the log. And the answer is, it is required that each QSO be assigned to either the run or multiplier station. However, there's a minor exception, and it's really not an exception, it's more like a subset. If you're using only one radio and you're not taking advantage of the dual 10-minute rules that are allowed under multi-single, then you may designate all the QSOs as the run station. Just still be sure to follow the 10-minute rule for band changes, and it can't hurt to put a note in the header saying, I'm multi-single, but I only used one radio. Here's sort of a log excerpt for multi-single rig designation. Now here's an example from multi-single at KT3Y, and all of us who submit logs recognize this format with the QSO colon at the left and then all the QSO data over on the right. So in the above case, the designations are in the extreme right-hand column, and in this case, 1 is for the runner and 0 is for the multiplier station. However, your logging software may flip it around where 0 is the runner and 1 is the multiplier station. Just make sure that you're consistent throughout the log. Either way is fine. And for those of you who've been doing it one particular way and not having an issue, just keep on doing it. Your contest logging software does allow you to designate the run and multiplier rigs for every QSO, and we do ask that you do that.
Okay, Doug. Well, thanks for that. Anything else you want to add on those subjects?
No, I think that's it. Go ahead, Bob.
All right, so let's take it to the next subject, which is a change in the submission deadlines. The CQWW committee voted to change the submission deadlines for both phone and CW starting with the 2010 contest to November 21st for sideband and December 21st for CW. So you should make a note of that and make sure that your log is received on or before those dates. And as it says in red there, please make a note of this important log submission change so that you do not miss it. You'll be happy to know that we've been working hard behind the scenes to get the rules translated into as many languages as possible. We understand that in many cases the English version is not understandable by many people, and number two is that many people only see the abridged version of the rules which appear in their local or country national magazines. So we have asked several people, and they've been all very helpful to us, committee members and non-committee members, to translate the languages into many languages the rules. And you can see from this list that we include many languages which we've never included before, all the way from Arabic to Chinese to Ukrainian. So you can see that there's quite a few opportunities for you to read and understand the rules. Of course, if you ever have any questions, just write something to questions@cqww.com and we'll be happy to help you out. We're looking for people to help us translate more languages. The two ones which we're not missing, we already have somebody working on the Japanese translation, but we need something in an Indian, they're proposed to come in Indonesian language and in Korean, or in any language you see not presented in the previous slide. If you can help us out, and you can do that, we would really appreciate it. And you can do that by contacting questions at cqww2010 to help us out. Next, let's talk about the extreme category, which was introduced in 2009. The purpose of this category was to encourage experimentation with new technology. And last year, we anticipated this would be a slow takeoff for this category, and it was, but we anticipated six or so half dozen entries, and we got that. So we were happy with the number of entries last year, and so far this year there seems to be an interest in several people also entering this category and supplying us with their scheme of what they're going to do for the contest. You must remember, however, if you're going to enter the extreme category, that you have to pre-register for the contest for the extreme category by sending some sort of overview of what your scheme is going to be in this category to extreme@cqww.com. You see at the bottom there in red. The results will be reported for the extreme category with the 2010 CW results, which will be actually in September 2011 CQ magazine. So let's look at the CQWW contest committee overall. First of all, how are we organized? But before we get into that, which we'll see in the next slide or so, let's welcome several new members to the committee. And you can see the list is rather expansive, and we've extended the CQWW contest committee into many areas which wasn't before. We're trying to include as many non-U.S. stations as possible so that we can include their ideas and views into what we decide. All the people that you see there on this list have been extremely helpful in solving local problems and also interacting with us in many ways to sort out situations within the committee. We want to thank all of these people personally for joining us and handling and trying to make the contest as popular and as fair as possible. So let's turn now to the CQ contest committee itself and look at our working groups. This is just a list of some of the working groups, all the way from helping with your log submission, adjusting received logs, database assembly, website site updates such as records, the thorough checking of the top scores in the contest, and results generation. All of those take a lot of work and a lot of effort. You can imagine with 12,000 entries last year just how many pieces of data that involves to get right. And of course, being human, just like you are, we make mistakes. Each working group is made up of at least 4 members, and the following slides illustrate a few examples of what we do. So what happens to your log after you submit it to CQ? Well, first you submit it to one of the 2 addresses in number 1, your sideband log, ssb@cqww.com and cw@cqww.com. And if your log is successfully received, you'll get a response from the CQWW robot, which basically says, all okay, log received, thank you. If your log has a problem, you will receive an error message. Or if you don't know how to submit your log, the CQWW contest committee has a special group dedicated to helping you. And please contact questions at cqww.com with your plea to help you, and we will have somebody contact you. This has worked out very well over the years, and many people who are not familiar with technology or not familiar how to submit the log have contacted us, and we've helped them and walked them through the steps of what they should do. And it usually clears up the problem so that in the future years they submit successfully. We want you to be able to successfully submit your log, and so we're willing to step up to the plate and help you with that. Once your log is successfully received, there are many things that have to be done behind the scenes to make sure everything is okay. Number one of the things we do is that we look at the number of not-in logs that appear in each of the submitted logs, And if there's an inordinate number of them, in other words, a large number of not in logs, perhaps something's wrong with the entry. And we look at the entry, and many times the entrant forgot to change bands, or change bands submitted a log with the wrong band, essentially, that they actually entered. And so we have to go back and sort all that out so that we have everything correct. Usually, sometimes it involves contacting the entrant, but most of the time it involves us sorting it out behind the scenes so that everything becomes okay with the log. And another thing we can do, and over the years we've received several of these types of logs that the actual wrong call was submitted for the log. You may say, how is that possible? Well, it's possible if you use a club call and you submit your personal call as the actual log in the Curvillo header, so to speak. Or if you submit the club call and it actually was your personal call that you used during the contest. In that case, all your logs, all your contacts are nils, and we have to go back and correct that. Not listed here, but among other things we receive are obviously contests, logs for wrong contests, like for the sweepstakes or for some other contest, and we have to figure out and reject those logs and send them back to the entrant. Once we have sorted it all out, and that takes quite a bit of time to do that, we have to make a usable database, which then we can compare all the logs to sort out for the final results. After we receive all the logs, there are approximately, and this number is not accurate, but it's in the ballpark, 100,000 different log entries. Now, a log entry could be everything from a real call to a broken call to a bunch of garbage. In other words, a dollar sign or something like that, mistakes by the entrant. These all have to be sorted out, and it turns out that approximately, and this has been true for a very long time, 2/3 of the calls in the database are busted calls. That's a lot of calls, isn't it? Well, it's a lot of calls to sort through and try to figure out which ones are not good and which are good. And as I said before, we do our best to identify busted calls, but we're not, we're like you, human, and we do make mistakes, and we count on you to bring to our attention those mistakes when you notice them. And this is how you can do that. You have several chances to interact with us, with your results, before the final publication of entrants is done. You can bring to our attention to us errors in which you noticed to our attention. First of all received logs with the score, the category, and new for this year, hopefully, will be clubs, are published at cqww.com soon after each CQWW contest. This will appear under logs received, sideband, or CW. And there will be a list of all the calls received with their score, their category, and their club listed next to them. You can check that and see whether or not the category is correct for you. If not, please let us know. You have approximately 7 months to look at this and let us know if there's a mistake. Secondly, towards the end of all the checking, all the logs will be made public, have been made public, and your UBN reports or log checking reports will be made available online approximately, give or take, a month to 3 weeks before I have to get them into the magazine. And you can look at that too and see if there's any errors or mistakes which you notice, and bring them to our attention again before final publication. And if errors are noted, you have plenty of time to bring about corrections before the final publication. Just let us know. Don't let us know after the thing has been published and you say, well, how come I was assisted and you put me a single op not assisted? Well, you didn't bother looking at your log received to see whether or not it was correct. Please do that, and that will help us sort out problems before they occur. Now let's talk about a few frequently asked questions which have arisen in the last several months, which is not a new question because it's occurred over the years many, many times. If I am single band, in the single band category, say I'm single band at 40 meters, and I want to make QSOs on other bands, so I want to get on, have a little fun on 10, 15, when 40's not open. is it okay if I make those contacts, and how do I submit my single band log? First of all, yes, it's okay to get on other bands and make contacts. All those other contacts will not, cannot affect your single band entry. They will be counted as a check log. So, but in order to be fair to all the people you're making contacts with, please submit all of your contacts with your log. Don't just submit your single band contacts. Submit all your contacts. In the Cabrillo header, your category will be indicated as single band. Just to make sure we have it right, please make a note in the comment soapbox area of the Cabrillo header that you are single band and you wish that the all band score be counted as part of the check log. We will find this comment because we look at and review every comment in soapbox message, so that we will find this comment by you. So number one, yes, it's okay to make contacts in another band. Those are check log contacts. Number two, submit your whole log. Number three, make sure your category is single band.
Yeah, Bob, so, can I jump in?
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize here that it's really important to follow exactly what Bob has just stated. Not uncommonly, over many years, we get logs where, let's say you're mono 10, and you'll send in your 10-meter log, and then you send in the rest of your log, which you didn't want to count, after that as a check log. And what the robot does when it comes in is it overwrites your 10-meter log with your check log. So it's really important to include it all at once and not in two pieces. Go ahead, Bob.
Yes, that's right. That's a good point, Doug. Just remember that every time you submit something to the CQWW robot, that's what is the fresh thing that will be counted. So if you submit your check log, as Doug just mentioned, it will override your single band entry. So what you want to do is submit the whole log, including all your contacts, and make sure that you indicate single band. We'll figure it out. And besides that, as I mentioned in the last slide, you have the ability to look at the logs received and see whether it's right or not. The second question is, if I'm single band, which also refers to a single band entry, and I make use of another band, how can I submit this whole log for my club? Well, this is a little bit a little trickier. You must make a note in the comment soapbox section of your Cabrillo header saying, for example, please count my all band score for my club. I am single band. So just in the previous question, your category will be single band, and the rest of your log will be a check log. But now you're wanting all the score to be counted for your club, including the check log. That's fine, but unless you make a comment, we're not going to find it. Even if you put your club as PVRC and you put your entry as single band 40 meters and you submit a log with 500 contacts on other bands as a check log altogether as one entry, we won't find that, generally speaking, because the software is not set up for it, and first of all, the Cabrillo doesn't give you a box to check off. So please make this comment. If you do make that comment, we guarantee we will find it in the comment soapbox area of your Cabrillo header when we review those comments. Now, let's talk about a few comments about the CQWW as a whole. If you submit a very competitive log, you can count on it to be checked in detail. We are checking to make sure you follow the rules of your chosen category. In other words, if you're single op, you're not using assisted. If you're multi-single, you're following the 10-minute rule. If you're multi-2, you're following the band change rule, so that we make sure that you are following the rules. Following the rules allows for, obviously, ham spirit and fair play, which is what everybody is looking for. Everybody's looking for everybody to be on an even playing field. So let me talk about something which refers to just a few people in the contest. Rule 3.8 and Rule 12. Let's look first at Rule 3.8. Before I start talking about this rule, a little background to this rule is needed. In 2009, we began the Observer Program. It was developed in response to questions being raised about top-scoring logs. As you know, Our sport is rather unique in that the final outcome, or your final score, completely rests on the honesty of the entrant. That is to say, there is no on-site referee. This is probably one of the few sports in the world where there's nobody looking or a referee checking to see whether or not you're following the rules. The Observer program provided an opportunity for us to provide referees in a limited on-site manner. Earlier, we reported, as you remember, in one of our updates, the outcome of the 2009 observers. In 2010, we will again employ observers. The results we will report at a later time. So this rule, Rule 3.8, applies to those people who are trying to win a very heavily competed category, such as all-band, single-op world, for example, or multi-single world, or Europe, for example, or multi-world, or Europe, or worlds, or Europe, or USA, for example. So these people are a select group and essentially involved not more than 100 out of 12,000 entries that are involved in this sort of close competition, trying to win the top prize. Now let's look at the Rule 12, and it concerns the possible actions of the CQWW committee. For those very few entrants who decide not to play fair, we developed a carding system based loosely on the familiar football, or as we call it here, soccer, penalty system. It involves a yellow card and a red card. A yellow card is given for an infraction of the rules, such as in last year's, for example, not claiming assisted, and a red card is given for a more egregious violation. In other words, for a violation which was far beyond, for example, placing contacts in your log which you never made contact with, for example. What's called padding the log. The yellow card means you're ineligible for an award in that contest. In other words, it's the old disqualification award, essentially. And basically means that you're not going to receive any recognition for that contest. A red card has more serious consequences in that you're eliminated from competition from receiving an award or being available for an award in all the CQ contests from a year from the time it's publishing the results. But in addition to that, the CQ Contest Committee has enlisted the help of several other groups, and the red card system now includes all CQ-sponsored contests and has been accepted by the European High Frequency Contest and the JIDXC contest to follow the same rules. If an entrant receives a red card in any cooperating contest, it will be recognized by all. In other words, if you receive a red card or disqualified in a European high-frequency contest, you also will not be listed as being eligible for an award in the CQWW contest. So we hope that this system grows, and other major contests will join us in providing a substantial floor to the red card system so that it stands on firm ground. Right now, that includes all the major CQ contests and several other very international contests. Now let's turn our attention to something more positive, open logs. Open logs have allowed new tools to be generated by the entrants, available to the entrants and generated by the entrants. It's interesting that when this first occurred, and we had a long debate about this within the committee, that we immediately thought, well, if we make open logs, somebody's going to try to manipulate them and try to get data out of them. And the answer to that, well, should we do that or somebody else do that? Well, it turns out that we decided that it's whoever provides good information to the contest community can do that. And so far, there's been 3 very good sites that have done that. You might make a note of these and go around and figure out for yourself how useful they are to you. We found them very useful. W7EJ, who's a contest committee member, has a very useful site at this website, Doug, you want to comment on that one? Doug?
Yeah, okay. I got to unmute the microphone.
Okay.
I was pushing the paddle. Nothing was happening. Yeah, okay. So this is relatively new, and as soon as I saw it posted on the CQ Contest Reflector, I took a look. So basically, it allows you to compare your log to somebody else's log or a bunch of other logs. And it does all sorts of neat iterations, hour by hour, rates, things like that. And a lot of the stuff that you've seen published and in various presentations at Dayton and things where you get to see, person station A versus station B, you can now do it on your own instantly. It's really a good tool.
Yes, we found it extremely useful, and we've provided Jim with some historical data. Hopefully, over the next when he gets back from CN2R, where he is now, he may provide some more information historically. We have all sorts of ideas, obviously, about what this data can provide. The data that's available within the CQWW data bank is enormous, and it's best that that's used for some positive thing for the entrants. The EI8IC is a wonderful mapping program which allows you to see where all your contacts are made around the world. And EI60X's site is available for looking at propagational and analyzing your contest data also. All three of these sites are very useful, and we encourage you to look at them and take advantage of them because you'll find it very entertaining, especially a W7EJ site. If you go to that, you'll probably spend hours there just looking around. It's a lot of fun. So what do we have planned for the CQWW future? Well, in the very near future, we hope to have a revamped cqww.com site, so it's modernized. And soon we'll have other available learning tools and available, like we mentioned last year, online certificates available for you so that you can take advantage of that in the future. Secondly, we have updated the annotated, which means like noted, CQWW rules with frequently asked questions. And it's in its final preparation stage, and we will announce to you on CQWW on the CQ Contest Reflector when it's finally updated. What this boils down to is the rules, as you read them on the site right now, with lots of questions which have come in over the years about, can I do this, can I do that, what's this, how do I do this? And all those hopefully will be presented to you. Of course, if you have any questions which you don't see answered, please submit them to us at questions at cqww.com, and we will add them to the FAQ. Finally, the committee is made up of these people, all of them working hard. Everybody belongs to several committees. Everybody is doing some heavy lifting, all the way from checking problem logs to making the database correctly, to maintain the website. A lot of work is done by a lot of people, and we want to encourage you to contact anybody you see here to bring about anything that you notice to bring to the CQWW Contest Committee's attention. So let me say it once more again. Like I said in the very beginning, what is this CQWW about? It's about having fun. So you should jump right in. You'll be surprised what you'll be able to work. Everybody in their comments over the years, many people have commented, I wanted to get on just for a few hours, but then I was sucked in by the wonderful number of contacts I could make. You'll be surprised too. There's a number of many countries, many contacts that you can get on. It's the most active time of the year for you. So thank you for listening to our webinar. We will again present one in October next year, and we'll have updates during the year in case something changes for us. Thank you very much, and I'm back over to Ken.
Okay, guys, thanks. Appreciate it. Good job. It's now time for Q&A questions. So as I mentioned before, I have some in front of me here, but if you have a question you'd like to send to Bob or Doug, go ahead and type it in the questions box and make sure you hit the send button, otherwise we won't see it. And we'll go ahead and take the next 10, 15 minutes or so, try to get to as many questions as we can. The first one, maybe this is going to be for you, Bob. and someone would like an example of the extreme class. And then also, as far as the results for listing the extreme class, I don't remember how you did it. Is that broken out separately, or is that lumped in with another category?
To answer your first question, the extreme category is what you want to do is give your idea and present it to us. That's why we want you to pre-register to make sure that it's okay. Just operating a remote station, like for example, if K3ST operated remotely at KT3Y, for example, that's not really an extreme. That's already covered within the rules. Extreme category would be, as was submitted last year, like if you have one of your stations at one location, one of your stations at another location, and they're connected by internet, and they're feeding back and forth information to one another, or perhaps you have your multi-single or multi-multi station somewhere, and you have operators located in Japan, France, South America, Africa, anywhere, and they're actually operating your station. There's nobody actually sitting at your station, but there's basically a lot of things going on because they're all operating remotely. We want to encourage as many possible ways to do this as possible, and we don't discourage any new ideas. We want you to think about ideas. That was the purpose of the extreme category. The second part of your question was where they reported. One of the things which we reported in the CQWW contest results, the CW, in the magazine, and also within the CQ magazine site. It's reported also. It is broken out at the CQ magazine site, but not within the magazine. It's meant broken out, but it's not in a little box, I don't think, as I remember. We hope to do that in the future. This was our first attempt to try to present them within the magazine, and so you have to bear with us until we get it right. If you have any ideas of what you would like to see, just let us know. We'll be doing it.
Okay, they're pouring in here. Let's see. Just bear with me one second. Okay, this next question comes from Ocean Hotel 4 Kilo Zulu Mike, and is wondering if there's any thought given to adding the tri-bander or single element class, which is very popular in the WPX contest.
Yes, that is a very popular category in that contest. There is thought to that. We're trying to proceed in a slow manner. One of the main features we're faced with is that since this is all volunteers, and we're on a very, very limited budget, which equals the number 0 mostly, we have to be careful what we do. So if we create a new category like single op, like a TS category, for example, it will create a lot more certificates, and that's more burden and more financing, etc. But your point is well taken, because that is a very fun category in the WPX contest. That's really, of the 3 that were created back 15 years ago or so, that was the one that really took off. And you're right, that's what most people have, is a tri-bander and some sort of wire. So it would be fun to do that. Let's see what happens in the future. We'll take it under advisement.
Okay, this next one, I was doing a little bit of research during the presentation. It looks like in the results for the low power participants, at least in the single operator category, you have an asterisk next to them in the results. One example was brought up here in Tunisia. They have a 100 watt power limit, and if they operate multi-single, is that broken out? Is the low power broken out? Do they use an asterisk in those results? I didn't see it, but then again, most people, when they get to the multi-operator category, operate high power. So just wondering if that same thing is done in the results for the multi-operators.
Well, that's an interesting question, and it's not. No. Fortunately, over the years, well, first of all, number one, if you're multi-single and Tunisia, you're going to win a certificate most likely if you on for the 24-hour requirement. However, if you're like in Germany and run 100 watts, well, you're not going to win, because probably there's somebody else who's going to beat you with high power. That's something we could do in the future. We've thought about that, but again, it creates more award burden for us. We're really faced with award fatigue at the end of the event. Handing out 2,700 certificates or 2,500 certificates for the CQWW last year. This takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a significant amount of money, many thousands of dollars. So it's not something we want to go into lightly. So we want to be able to go carefully into that situation. If there's enough interest shown for multis to be low power in a low power category, that's fine. We can then create that. We'll do what the public wants.
Now, we just thinking out of the box here a little, Bob. We might be able to get closer to accommodating that if we do it strictly via the online certificate.
Yeah, if we eventually get to the online certificate, of course, that eliminates a lot of problems, and you can we can then open the floodgates, so to speak.
Okay, I've got another question on the extreme category, and this one comes from Japan, JK3 Golf Alpha Delta, wondering if more detailed results of the extreme category could be provided, or exactly what technology they used, how many points, and so on. And that might be something that maybe you don't do in the results, but maybe we could get some of the participants in that category to write up something in some of the publications. But just some feedback, and if you have any other thoughts on that.
That's a very good idea, Kazu. And actually, the fun part about the extreme category is what did the other guy do that was so interesting. And so your question is well taken. It's an oversight on our part not to make that public. We can go back and do that for the ones that were last year before it gets out of hand. We have several years of this down the road. We can go back and make that public so that you can see that. So we will do that, Kazu.
Okay, next one from Tony, OH2UA. Could you speak to the reason behind shortening the log submission deadline, and are you planning to make the deadline even shorter in the near future?
Well, there's been a lot of pressure on the committee to shorten the deadline with the idea that perhaps that would prevent people from, those top competitors from changing the logs or such. And the answer was, well, that doesn't have much with changing their logs because with all the technology today, it's easy to do that even during the contest if you had to. So the real bottom line for changing the log to an earlier date was, well, why not? That's basically it. And we changed it to about 3 weeks after the event. We don't have any plans right now to shorten it even sooner. We can't get the results out any sooner right now because we're limited by the CQ Magazine's publication deadlines. So we probably could have the results all finished by April or March or April if we weren't faced with publication deadlines, but we can't. So, and believe it or not, it takes 5 to 6 months to sort out real problem logs. So really 6 months is just about where we are in terms of that. And submitting your log 5 seconds after the contest or 3 weeks after the contest doesn't matter in terms of how it's going to be looked at in the overall. Doug, you want to add something to that?
I don't have a whole lot to add. I think we do recognize that there seems to be a trend, and at least I recognize in other contests that are shortening up the time frame. And as Bob said, we've got lots of input about make it shorter, and as Bob succinctly put, why not?
So that's where we stand. The answer is why not.
Okay, this next question from KD2JA. Do you guys have the URL again for that? I think it was EI6DX site or the one of the web pages you referenced.
You mean, can I go back to the picture?
Well, if you have the URL, you could do that. Sure, that would be good.
There it is.
Okay. I'll just leave it up there for a second then. Give them a chance to copy that down.
I'll just leave it for everybody.
Okay. All right, Roger, G3SXW, this one's for you, Doug. He says you used to publish a listing of UBN accuracy. Will that be available in the future?
Hi, Roger. Yeah, so I used to publish that when there was a CQ contest magazine, and we've discussed putting that on the updated CQ Worldwide website, which will give us a lot more room that we're not going to be bound by number of pages in the paper publication. So I don't see why not. Once the new web page gets launched, there should be plenty of room for all of that. Bob?
That's correct. We hope to add a lot of stuff. That's one thing we can add. One thing that became clear with the honor roll, which is what it was called in CQ Contest magazine of the UBN reports, it's clear that if somebody uses super check partial during the contest, their UBN improves dramatically. So we are aware of that, and it doesn't reflect a actual copying ability. It reflects your ability to read something off a computer screen. So that's where we stand. But nevertheless, it's a fun thing to do, and we'll probably put it in there anyway. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, next question from Stuart, GW0 Echo Tango Fox. Is SDR skimmer used to monitor the CW contest for violations or, well, misdemeanors?
You mean as the skimmer is, can we use the skimmer to look at people who might cheat?
I guess, do you use that as part of the rules enforcement? Or could it be used as rules? I guess you don't want to I know you don't want to give away all your secrets.
That's a good answer, Ken.
Okay.
Now we'd rather not get into everything. We have a lot of tools that are in our quiver, and we don't want to reveal everything we do. And quite frankly, skimmers are new process has come on within the last year or two. So we're in the process of changing along with it. So yes, and yes.
Okay, very good. Another extreme category question from Bob K8I8. Do they count for club scores?
Oh yes, of course.
Okay.
Just remember when you do a club score, you can assign each operator to a club. So if you want to do that, make sure that's clear within the comment soapbox section of the header.
Okay, and Kazu's also wondering what's the reason extreme participants need to pre-register?
So that we can make sure that they're okay with the category. In other words, we've had several people who just didn't understand what it meant, and they entered the contest and then submitted a log, and they weren't extreme at all. You know, extreme meant that they had 2 radios they were listening to them.
Yeah, we also don't want them to go, far outside the bounds. So if somebody says, well, I want to have, five radios at one time on 20-meter monoband, we're not going to go for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're trying to eliminate. You still can only have one signal on the band at any one time, and so the answer to that is we want to make sure that they fit the mold.
Okay. Here's one I guess we all run into time to time. This is from Ray. Say you enter a call in your log, or you log someone before you work them, and then you wind up not working them or something. A lot of times, you can't erase the call from your log, and so maybe you just type in your own call sign or something because you have to put something in the field. And what's the best way to handle that so it doesn't screw up what you guys are trying to do with log checking and so on?
Well, what you suggested was how most people handle it. They type their own call in the log field. Like if you're in the United States and you type in K3EST, and I do that. I type in K3EST. It's a 0 pointer in the United States, so it doesn't add anything to the overall thing, and it's a dupe if I do it more than once. So that's the best way to handle that problem.
Yeah, the other option is make a note during the contest, and when you're all done, go into the text editor on your Cabrillo log and just remove the line. That's assuming that you didn't make the contact. If something got busted, you still want to leave it there so the other guy might get credit.
Okay, next question from Igor, UA9 Charlie Delta Charlie, and this I think goes back to one of the slides you had. Remember if it was Bob or Doug, whatever. As far as for multi-single and labeling the different transmitters, he says for multi-single category, say they have designated transceivers A, B, C, or maybe D for that matter. Suppose they designate A as their run and the others as multipliers. Does that mean that the order cannot be changed until the end of the contest, or could they at some point change radio B to the designation and use that as the run? Just trying to get a better handle on how to do that with their logging so they don't get tripped up as far as time violations and so on.
I understand.
Okay.
Well, first of all, Igor, you want to use 1 or 0, not A, B, or C, or D, or something like that. And using 1 and 0, you can do that. Doug can expand that information a little bit more. Go ahead, Doug.
Okay. Ken, could you just read that one more time?
Oh, okay. Stand by.
Did you lost it?
No, it's right here. Okay, for multi-signal.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, all right.
I remember the thrust of it. Okay, so basically the question is, can I go back into the log after the contest and rearrange things? Basically, you're asking, I guess, if you snuck something in when you shouldn't have. How do you get around that by rearranging? As long as you're leaving all the QSOs in the log, if you want to change the designation and say, well, this was, I want this to no longer be the mult station. I want this to be the run station. I don't know. I guess that's okay. I'll run it by Bob as well. We've really never come across this, but as long as you're going to leave all the QSOs in the log and not remove QSOs, if you need to rearrange things, and one of the scenarios I'm thinking of is sometimes your computers lose sync, or if you misidentify what station is what. Personally, I don't have a problem with you looking at the log and saying, oh, this, look, somehow we were running on 20, and we worked a new mult on 10, and for some reason we assigned it as the run station. Can I go back later and change that to the mult station? My reaction to that is yes, of course. Bob, you have any comment?
I agree with that. You can also, if you have to change the designation, many software programs allow you to do that by some sort of command, like CT is Alt-Y or something like that. It allows you to switch the run and multiplier stations so that their destination becomes reversed. So all those things are possible. There's several things you should remember. You must remain on the band for 10 minutes. If you don't, you're not following the rules. Number 2, the first cue that you make on the band starts the clock. So you have to stay on for 10 minutes from that first cue. And number 3 is that you can do what Doug suggested as long as you are following the rules and are not in some way trying to manipulate.
Yeah, and not removing any QSOs. I don't know, Igor, can you type in a quick response to Ken? Did we answer your question?
That's what I was going to suggest, Igor. Hopefully that answers it, but if not, we still got a little bit of time left. If you need clarification, go ahead and send me another question.
And of course, you can always send a follow-up question to questions@cqworldwide.com.
Yeah, that's probably the better idea. If we can do that, then we can get all the information to you. We can just carry on a conversation with you there, Igor.
Okay, next question from Robert. Maybe you guys can touch on this again. The difference between the yellow and red cards.
That's a good question. And the yellow card is basically what we call an infraction of the rules, such as not claiming assisted. That's for example. A red card is for unverified contacts. In other words, contacts or other very serious violations of the rules. Like for example, not unverified contacts or contacts which you're making which are not real, or you're putting contacts into your log, or any way which you're cheating in some way which is far beyond, as they used to say, the pale. So that's basically it. And as it says in the rules, the yellow or red card is at the discretion of the contest committee. So we all sit around and pull our hair about what to do for each one, and each one gets a separate hearing, and we try to apply them fairly. I want to emphasize that this only involves less than 100 people out of most likely 12,100 logs. So that's what we're talking about. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay. Tony's wondering, is the Observer program still in play for this year? Are you guys you still doing that?
Yes, and we're in the midst of right now trying to sort things out and how to make that become very positive for this year, yes.
Okay, good. Oh, and by the way, we did apparently answer Igor's question, so good to go on that one. Okay, well, let's make this the last question then. Chris, N5KM asked, you had listed all the languages that the rules have been translated to. Just the curiosity as far as how to verify that the translation is in fact something didn't fall through the cracks, and if someone maybe who's proficient in one of those languages happens to see something maybe isn't quite right or needs to be tweaked a little bit, how do they go about doing that? I'm assuming just to contact you guys.
Yeah, that's right. First of all, I like to say that the English version of the rules is the touchdown. That's the gold standard. Everything else is a translation from that. If somebody who understands the language or feels like there's an error in the translation brings it to our attention, we'll be happy to change it. We were looking forward to any sort of your help to make things better.
Okay, and one other question that came in here. I believe all the committee members are up on your webpage. Is that correct?
Up on the webpage, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Someone had asked about that, and I was pretty sure they were there. So, okay. Well, listen, we're a few minutes past the top of the hour. Some excellent questions and presentation, guys. I want to thank you for being here today, taking the time out to share the latest with the CQ Worldwide contest. And I know, like everyone else here, I'm really looking forward to next weekend. And we have a few sunspots. Hopefully, they'll hang around. So, Bob, Doug, anything else you want to add before we close it down?
Well, just thank you for everybody for joining us. And if you have any questions or feel like you want to help in some way or whatever, contact me at questions@cqww.com. Thank you. Thanks to everybody.
Yep, appreciate it.
Okay, and just a reminder again that this event has been recorded and will be up on www.pvrc, that's Potomac Valley Radio Club.org, and I think that should probably be up in the next 24 hours, maybe sooner. Also, I don't have any other webinars planned at the moment. I am working on a couple, one with K9LA, something probably propagation related, so we're working on a couple of I think would be good events, but nothing nailed down at this point. But as soon as we do, you'll get announcements, and I'd love to have everyone join us again. So anyways, thanks for being here. Have a great week, and look for everyone next weekend. Should be a blast. Take care. 73s. Bye-bye.
73.
Bye-bye.